My husband let his new secretary sit in my seat. Alexander came to pick me up. My usually cold, untouchable husband had let his new secretary take my seat, the passenger seat that had always been mine. I knew then that our marriage was over. Chapter 1. That day, Alexander drove to pick me up. When I opened the passenger door, I froze. A young, beautiful woman was sitting in my seat, giving me a sweet smile. "Hi, Mrs. Whitmore." She greeted me politely, but made no move to get up. I narrowed my eyes and turned to Alexander. He was on his phone, oblivious to the tension crackling between us. We'd planned to attend an auction together tonight. I'd been looking forward to this date, had dressed carefully for it. I never imagined I'd find someone else in my seat. "Hi, Mrs. Whitmore. I'm Bella Rose, Mr. Whitmore's new assistant." The girl's lips curved in a warm smile. Two dimples made her look irresistibly sweet. "I heard you're attending a private auction tonight, so I asked Mr. Whitmore to take me along to broaden my horizons." "Don't worry, I won't intrude." My heart sank like a stone. I knew this man too well. Alexander had always maintained his distance from others. He didn't let people get close easily. We'd come together through our family's business alliance. After careful consideration, we'd chosen each other. Friends joked I'd be a widow to a living husband. But after we got together, Alexander would hold me with gentle eyes. In moments of passion, his eyes would turn red at the corners. He'd said, "You're my wife. We're one. You're different from everyone else." Today, something had changed. Chapter 2. But I wasn't the type to suffer in silence. I was Victoria Chen. I'd never needed anyone's permission to be angry. "Get out." I dismissed her coldly, without mercy. The girl froze, stunned. She hadn't expected me to humiliate her at our first meeting. Perhaps my tone was too harsh. Bella looked genuinely lost. I'm sorry, Mrs. Whitmore." Her voice trembled with tears as she scrambled to the back seat. Alexander had just finished his call and looked over at us. He realized I was angry. His face showed helplessness and indulgence. He leaned over to fasten my seatbelt. Noticing the seat had been adjusted, I irritably readjusted everything. The fussing left me seething. This is so annoying. Why would anyone touch my seat? The car's atmosphere turned arctic. The girl didn't dare speak again. Alexander frowned slightly, his voice calm as he suggested, "If you're not in the mood, we can go home." In the rearview mirror, the woman was silently crying. I was beyond irritated. "Bella Rose, right? I'm not in the mood anymore. Get yourself a cab home. Alexander and I are leaving." The girl paled, looking helplessly at Alexander. He made no move to defend her. She got out, devastated. Chapter 3. Alexander wouldn't embarrass me in front of others. He'd always known how to control his emotions. So he suggested we go home. Handle things at home. This was our long-standing agreement. She's just a college grad, fresh out of school. Why are you taking it out on her? Alexander pulled me into his arms. First time. He looked confused. What? All these years, this is the first time you've let another woman sit in your seat. He hadn't expected this to be my issue. Everyone in our circle knew how exceptional Alexander was. Countless women wanted him. But he kept himself pure. Flowers might dazzle, but he touched none. Alexander smiled softly, stroking my hair. "So you can still get jealous." He leaned down to kiss me, his nose brushing my cheek. "She's my subordinate. Nothing more. There will never be anything between us." He held my face, looking into my eyes. His deep voice promised. Chapter 4. Women's intuition is rarely wrong. Even though I'd only met Bella once, my instincts told me she had feelings for Alexander. I thought my show of dominance would be enough. But the next day, the necklace meant for me from the auction was around her neck. James, Alexander's chief assistant, sent me a photo and a screenshot from social media. In the photo, the crescent moon diamond necklace graced Bella's fair neck, making her look even more delicate. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but she was smiling. She must have cried all night and received a certain someone's gift. The screenshot showed Bella's post. "Boss says girls should be strong even when hurt." Wiping my tears. "Yes sir, my boss." With cute cheerleading emojis. And a photo of the necklace in its box. My blood nearly froze. Though it pains me to admit it, her provocation almost made me lose control. It felt like my pristine white handkerchief had been stained with mosquito blood. The feeling was oddly intense. I even wanted to drive my yellow Ferrari at 180 miles per hour and slap her. But looking at my hands, I realized how beneath me it was to even acknowledge such trash. I called my contact at Hermes. Her voice bubbled with barely contained joy. She assured me over the phone. "Don't worry, Mrs. Whitmore. Even if I have to empty every store in Manhattan, I'll have everything delivered today." That afternoon, before work ended, every female executive assistant and secretary at Whitmore Corporation, 46 women total, excluding Bella, received a generous gift from the CEO's wife. A $120,000 Hermes necklace. The individual price might not match the $2 million auction necklace, but with so many recipients, I'd been more than fair. James handled it smoothly. He required everyone to post on social media with the caption, "The CEO's wife says every girl deserves the best." Fist pump. "Yes ma'am, my CEO's wife." The recipients were naturally happy to comply. As assistants and secretaries, they were the company's gossip central. Receiving gifts from the CEO's wife? They eagerly posted with the required caption. Some clever ones added, Mrs. Whitmore really knows how to play. The executive assistants might not have huge influence, but their ability to spread news through departments was formidable. Within half an hour, the entire company knew the CEO's wife had gifted everyone Hermes necklaces. As for the reason, the gossip mill was already churning. Bella turned pale, seemingly deeply humiliated. Red-eyed, she fled to the bathroom to remove the diamond necklace. Two colleagues entering to touch up makeup saw her and hummed meaningfully. Mortified, Bella hung her head and rushed out. The mocking laughter behind her grew bolder. Her cheeks burning, she put the necklace back in its box and returned it to Alexander untouched. Chapter 5. Alexander had just finished a video call with partners. He saw the girl who'd clearly been crying again, clutching the necklace box, staring at her feet dejectedly. What's wrong? Alexander asked, puzzled. Bella's tears fell before she could speak. She choked out pitifully, Mr. Whitmore, please take this back. I can't accept it. Alexander's cold face showed displeasure. His instincts told him something had happened. But he didn't ask directly. He just watched her quietly. Bella bit her lip, hesitated, then finally explained everything that happened at the office. Mr. Whitmore, I'm sorry for always causing trouble. I just posted to encourage myself. I didn't know Mrs. Whitmore would find out. Bella sniffled quietly. I didn't expect her to be so angry. The woman looked pitiful as a rabbit. Mr. Whitmore, I'd like to apologize to her in person. I can explain everything. Alexander never checked social media. His time was consumed by work. But as CEO, he understood the company's gossip culture too well. His normally stern face grew colder. I understand, he said gravely. Chapter 6. That evening, Alexander brought Bella home. The girl stood timidly behind him. I brought Bella to explain things clearly. Alexander sighed. Victoria, Bella is just my secretary. After yesterday, I gave her a gift as an apology. That's all. I stirred my spoon, finishing the bird's nest soup the housekeeper had made. Ma'am, I'm sorry. Bella bowed sincerely, trembling nervously. This was my first expensive gift. I got carried away. If I upset you, please tell me. I'll change immediately. I raised an eyebrow. Bella rose, right? The girl glanced at Alexander, seemingly drawing courage from him, and nodded slowly. Watching this calf thinking she could challenge me, I found it amusing. I'm not your teacher or your boss. I don't have time to teach you manners. But I am Alexander's wife. So if anyone tries to get inappropriately close to my husband, I won't give them a chance to reform. She'd probably never met someone so direct. Her face showed only vulnerability. Victoria, Bella came to apologize. Alexander knew my nature and methods. Even if he disagreed with my actions today, he understood my feelings. So he hadn't confronted me, just agreed to let Bella apologize. He'd already compromised, wanting me to let go of the misunderstanding. We were both smart people. Even a glance conveyed meaning. I understand. I decided to give Alexander a chance. After all, he hadn't actually cheated. But there won't be a next time. For anyone. Chapter 7. You didn't need to use those methods against a young woman. Before bed, Alexander brought it up. You should have told me first. I sat at my vanity, brushing my hair, watching the handsome man in the mirror. You knew I loved that necklace, yet you gave it to another woman. Shouldn't I be angry? I couldn't imagine if this perfect man was tainted, could I still love him the same way? Alexander calmly poured himself ice water at the bar. She cried all night because of your misunderstanding. When I saw her swollen eyes this morning, I gave her the necklace as compensation. No flaws. In his story. I studied him coldly. $2 million meant nothing to USA trinket to give away. If the person deserved it. He tapped his fingers on the marble counter. Waiting for me to think. This was our first conflict over a third party. Our upbringing and values made us both find this tiresome. We were people who valued dignity. Alexander, I love you. His fingers stilled. He hadn't expected me to say this. Alexander, I love the untainted you. That's what makes you different. You never let women get close because you have emotional germophobia. You wanted a clean marriage. I wasn't like that before, but your values influenced me. Now we share the same life goals. I hope your marriage never has a fork in the road. Alexander sighed helplessly. It doesn't. Chapter 8. Alexander was extremely clear-headed. Knowing I minded, he wouldn't give Bella any more illusions. Without the CEO's favor, Bella as an intern could only do the most basic work. Before, she'd had chances to work at reception. Now James wouldn't even schedule her. I hadn't instructed anyone to exclude her. Since Alexander had boundaries, I trusted him completely. But these things didn't need my instruction. Plenty of people loved to kick others when they were down. Within 2 weeks, the new secretary couldn't handle the work. Disparity and psychological pressure. She'd lost significant weight. The turning point came after an important executive meeting. That day, Bella was assigned to clean the conference room alone. The girl in her pencil skirt knelt on the floor, using a blade to scrape gum off the carpet. Alexander, returning for something, witnessed this scene. Sensing someone behind her, the girl scrambled up in embarrassment. Alexander's gaze was deep and cold. His silent observation destroyed what remained of Bella's self-esteem. Mr. Whitmore. Tears fell unconsciously. She wasn't acting or pretending. Alexander had always been the untouchable son she admired. When she was marginalized, she'd almost accepted her fate. Now, being seen like this by him, Bella wanted nothing more than to push past Alexander and flee. In just 2 weeks, the once bright and lively girl had become this fragile. This was the first time Alexander lost his temper. Coming home, he smashed the water glass I offered against the floor. Water splashed everywhere. Why won't you leave her alone? Victoria, I respect and love you. I've tolerated your insults and harm to her repeatedly. What satisfaction do you get from bullying the weak? I remembered during his studies abroad, Alexander's younger sister had committed suicide due to bullying in middle school. It left an indelible scar, making him detest such behavior. Victoria, don't let me see you using these methods to hurt others again, or I won't stand by. I stared at the man losing control before me. For the first time since marriage, Alexander had lost his rationality over another woman, over something I hadn't done, and yelled at me. It felt terrible. Like glass shattering. Like water that couldn't be gathered again. Chapter 9. Alexander promoted Bella to his personal assistant. And immediately fired James, the chief assistant who'd worked with him for 7 years. You need to be clear about who you're really working for. James was stubborn about certain things. I work for you, Mr. Whitmore. For some matters, I contact Mrs. Whitmore privately. But only personal matters. Alexander threw the schedule at James. Really? So righteous? Then did your professional ethics let you use your position to bully others? James fell silent. She knew he'd discovered her treatment of Bella. Fear showed on her face. Alexander saw it all. No tolerance, no discernment, mixing personal and professional to suppress colleagues. What qualifies you to be chief assistant? James left the office in defeat. Outside, several assistants looked stricken. Jamie, are you really leaving? Before tears could fall, James quickly wiped them away. Yes, I'm going. See you around, ladies. Chapter 10. Alexander and I entered a Cold War. Unprecedented. He stayed at a hotel. Bella came to get his clothes. When Alexander wanted to make someone miserable, he exceeded even my methods. The housekeeper had already received the call. She'd packed his daily necessities. Bella, probably scared of my temper, took the suitcase from the housekeeper and immediately left by cab. Before leaving, she said carefully, Mrs. Whitmore, Mr. Whitmore wants us to connect on social media. If you need anything, you can contact me. James was gone. Bella had taken her place. Nothing to contact about. Tell him to go as far away as possible. Bella didn't understand why I could be so confident. When Alexander was already staying at a hotel. Her eyes showed confusion, but more glee. The housekeeper shook her head, trying to mediate. Ma'am, why don't you soften a bit? Go apologize to sir. You two never even argued before. How did it suddenly become this? The housekeeper had been with the Whitmore family for over a decade. After so long together, there was affection. He was waiting for me to apologize, wasn't he? Ridiculous. Why should I apologize? Chapter 11. Alexander never came back. But Bella's social media became very active. Mostly about her schedule with Alexander. Custom Chanel evening gowns. Private equity fund dinner invitations. $1 million fireworks at summit forums. Night views from yacht clubs. Photos with venture capital CEOs, etc. All marveling at how meeting the right person opened so many first experiences. The posts regularly got over 100 likes. Some even suggested in comments that she start a YouTube channel showing daily life in high society. Several mutual friends sent me screenshots with question marks. Now if you want to know Mr. Whitmore's whereabouts, just check his secretary's social media. Smart people speak in hints. Previously, the person accompanying Alexander to events was mostly me. If I was busy or didn't want to go, his assistants would rotate. Now, his regular companion had changed. I had no interest in responding to friends' well-meaning warnings. Just sent a simple thank you emoji. I was privately having Chen Financial help divide assets. This was a massive, complex undertaking. Due to our alliance, the two companies held cross shares. Plus the family fund I managed, countless investments in real estate, precious metals, stocks, yachts. Some foreign properties I needed to see deeds and photos to even remember. Organizing everything took time. Chapter 12. That day, Alexander called from his business trip. Mom wants us over for dinner. Okay. We acted as if nothing had happened, as always. The driver picked up Alexander from the airport. Then me, and we went to his parents together. Alexander and Bella sat in the back. They'd actually left the passenger seat for me. Bella's schadenfreude was obvious. I laughed at the absurdity of my situation. But this time, I didn't assert my territory. I calmly accepted the passenger seat. Alexander's expression was cold, the atmosphere oppressively low. Ma'am, we just got back from Manhattan today. Mrs. Whitmore Sr. said she missed Alexander, so I bought some gifts to visit her. Bella was as chatty as ever. But more mature and composed than before. These days with Alexander had clearly taught her much. I said nothing, closing my eyes to rest. Bella gave up. Alexander's lips pressed thin. Silent the whole way. Chapter 13. Seeing Bella, Mrs. Whitmore was somewhat surprised. The girl greeted her skillfully, introducing herself. She seemed well-versed in pleasing people. Soon she had Mrs. Whitmore laughing happily. At dinner, Bella chatted with Mrs. Whitmore about Alexander's work anecdotes. Mrs. Whitmore nodded approvingly. Then asked about Alexander's daily life. Bella answered fluently. The atmosphere turned noticeably strange. Bella still wore her dimpled smile. In the suddenly tense atmosphere, she realized her mistake, not entirely stupid after all. Daily life questions should have been mine to answer. Mrs. Whitmore wasn't foolish. Alexander remained silent. I elegantly wiped my mouth. Mom, I'm pregnant. Really, Victoria? This was wonderful news. Mrs. Whitmore's eyes lit up. When did you find out? The man who'd been coldly silent since I got in the car showed rare emotion. I raised an eyebrow mischievously. Just yesterday. The doctor says it's been 3 weeks. Mrs. Whitmore was overjoyed, saying she'd call Mr. Whitmore. Then fussed about taking me to the hospital tomorrow. Bella looked shocked, her almond eyes innocently wide. Ma'am, could you have the timing wrong? Mr. Whitmore and I have been traveling abroad for 2 months. Hearing this, Mrs. Whitmore looked stunned. No mistake. I specifically saw Dr. Foster, the renowned obstetrician. It's definitely just 3 weeks. I emphasized 3 weeks. Alexander knew very well hadn't been home during this time. This child wasn't his. The warmth on his face vanished instantly. Victoria. Alexander's entire being radiated suppressed storm, yet he fought to control it, seemingly waiting for my explanation. I smiled even more smugly. Congratulations, Alexander. I'm going to be a mother. Don't joke like that. He said coldly. I placed the prepared pregnancy report on the table. Unfortunately, this isn't a joke. While you were honeymooning with your lover, I was lonely and found some former lovers for company. Now I don't know who the father is. If you don't mind, the baby can call you Dad, but they'll take my surname. With each word, his face grew colder. Enough. When I said the last sentence, Alexander finally exploded. I ignored his anger. Alexander, how does it feel to wear green? Chapter 14. Alexander never imagined I would blatantly cheat and righteously announce I was carrying another man's child. I never gave you green. His hands clenched, veins visible. This news had clearly shocked him deeply. We only worked. Never crossed lines. I never cheated. I touched my stomach. Not wanting to hear his belated explanations. Your secretary posts your daily work life on social media. Alexander, didn't you? See? Even our friends noticed and warned me. You still think that's not crossing lines? If you can stargaze with her, I can discuss poetry and philosophy with other men. Alexander rarely showed anger. But I didn't care. In fact, I was disappointed. What a pity, Alexander. I didn't have time to bring a man back to Whitmore Manor. Compared to your provocation today, I fell short. Alexander couldn't accept it. He believed he and Bella were completely proper. Besides work communication, they barely interacted. He just wanted to use Bella to make a point. He didn't understand how we'd come to this. Before this, he'd always believed our marriage was stable and happy. Ma'am, Mr. Whitmore and I are innocent. Before Mrs. Whitmore, Bella rushed to defend herself. Mrs. Whitmore Sr. and I have spoken several times. I only came to visit for work convenience. This is all work for me. You've never worked, so maybe you don't know as the CEO's chief secretary, everything must be perfect. But Mr. Whitmore and I truly haven't crossed any lines. Bella sat beside Alexander, back straight. Really? On the way here, you sat beside Alexander and made the CEO's wife sit in front. Did your perfectionism suddenly fail? I exposed her mercilessly. The woman was speechless. I didn't spare Alexander either. Alexander, is this the chief assistant you personally trained for 2 months? James was also a woman, also your secretary. She followed you from college graduation. Did she ever sit beside you? She was more perfect than Bella. Did I ever target her once? Alexander breathed heavily, his eyes reddening. Let's divorce, Alexander. Chapter 15. He dragged me home, leaving Bella at the Whitmore estate. This was his first time home since our Cold War. The house had been mostly cleared out by me. Even the housekeepers had been dismissed. Alexander stopped, stunned. This home we'd shared for 3 years had become strange. He finally realized my divorce was premeditated. Alexander's eyes reddened in disbelief. He held me tightly. Victoria, I didn't cheat. His lost, low voice echoed in my ear. Get rid of the baby. We'll start over. As if hearing a joke, I retorted. That's my baby. Why should I? My calm seemed to pierce Alexander's heart. I did nothing. You know that. I broke free from his embrace. Yes, I know. You're still clean. But what use was that? You had Bella come get your suitcase. You knew I'd be disgusted. You took her to every event. You knew I'd be criticized. You knew everything, but you did it anyway. You allowed her provocations, humiliated me, forced me to surrender. You hate me for bullying the weak, but Alexander, did you see this so-called weak person deliberately provoking my boundaries? I cried, remembering everything, unable to believe my marriage was so fragile. You knew she had feelings for you, right? I warned you early, Alexander. Compared to ignorance, knowing and doing it anyway was most fatal. Alexander trembled, unsteady, voice barely audible. I'm sorry, Victoria. She always reminded me of Sophia. I was afraid you'd become one of those monsters too. Sophia Whitmore also had 2 sweet dimples. I just didn't want to see her cry. I never had any feelings for her. Watching his confession, I felt nothing. Maybe he was innocent, but I didn't want to foolishly hand my vulnerabilities to anyone who might hurt me. Chapter 16. Alexander refused the divorce. He hired a new male chief assistant. He even got drunk in the wine cellar. I struggled to get him to the couch. He was a quiet drunk, compliant and manageable. But when I tried to leave, he held me with red eyes, vulnerably pleading. Victoria, let's not divorce, okay? If you want this baby, have it. As for Bella, large corporations have procedures. He wouldn't fire someone who hadn't technically erred. But the CEO's deliberate distance sent a clear signal. The CEO's former personal assistant overnight went from enviable lucky girl to private mockery subject. When Bella found me, her youthful beauty was gone. No amount of makeup could hide her haggardness. I saw you at the company on my first day. This opening surprised me. I brought you tea that day, stood beside you waiting for instructions. You and Mr. Whitmore discussed wedding gifts for friends. You never looked at me once. The girl's face was full of mockery. Someone like Mr. Whitmore without work, I'd never have met him in my life. You? Just born lucky, and you get to marry him. That. Auction night, I told Mr. Whitmore it was rude for employees to sit in back while the boss drove. I'd switch when we met you. Mr. Whitmore didn't object. She seemed to remember that day's triumph. I ordered coffee and dessert for her too. My consistent arrogance stung her eyes red with deeper hatred. What right does a rich girl like you have to look down on me? Bella's contempt was clear. You don't deserve Mr. Whitmore's love. Really? Then did you get it? I watched leisurely as she unraveled. That childish face struggled to maintain composure. Isn't it because I threatened you? Why else would? You want divorce? I stirred my coffee methodically. Because I cheated. Had another man's baby. You knew that, right? You. Bella choked on my words. The girl lost control several times. What are you so proud of? Bad-tempered, unemployed, cheating old woman with another man's bastard. You think Mr. Whitmore still wants you? Slap. I mercilessly gave her a slap. First, even bold, I'm 2 years younger than your precious Mr. Whitmore. Second, who are you to call my child a bastard? Finally, I've wanted to slap you for ages, idiot. Chapter 17. When I was 4 months pregnant, the Whitmores knew. There was no turning back. Under family pressure, Alexander agreed to an amicable divorce. Our family's shares were too intertwined. The strategic cooperation benefited both sides. Our parents saw no need to change it. Prenuptial assets were clearly divided. No disputes. Postmarital joint investments I'd organized meticulously. Alexander signed calmly. Like a white crane fallen from grace, wings broken by his own hand, blood staining once pristine feathers. We divorced with dignity. Said our goodbyes. Chapter 18. When the baby was born, he took my surname Chen. Others thought he was premature, but the genes were indeed excellent. Mom kept asking who the father was. I didn't tell her. The so-called one-night stands were my fabrication, but they didn't need to know. Since it was a boy, my parents stopped pushing blind dates. They planned to raise him as the heir while they were still young. As the little one grew, he looked more and more like his father. Without marriage constraints, I lived freely these years. Even dated some young, handsome boyfriends. James occasionally gossiped with me. From her, I heard some rumors. Bella lasted less than 6 months before leaving on her own. But this circle was well connected. No major company would hire her. Alexander had grown even more distant these 2 years, focused purely on business. Every year-end shareholders meeting, Dad had me return to represent him. I knew what the old folks were thinking. Found it amusing but didn't expose them. After meetings, Alexander would pull me into his car, saying he'd drop by to wish my parents Happy New Year. Little Tyler Chen loved Alexander. Someone had secretly told him this was his daddy. Alexander doted on him, never refusing. As the child grew, how could he not understand? During New Year, I'd stay domestically with family. Alexander would clear his schedule to accompany us. He wanted to ask about remarriage. I refused. Marriage better nothing than settling. Otherwise, I'd be the one suffering. Little Tyler was visibly happier seeing Alexander. He insisted on sitting between Alexander and me, calling Mommy and Daddy nonstop with joy. I smacked his head, telling him not to call randomly. Alexander's eyes reddened, at a loss. He had thousands of apologies for me. But I no longer needed them. The end.